So I did. I'm going to try to put everything onto YouTube for our lectures recordings. It's taken a long time to get all that stuff going, but I did cut out this 10-minute clip of Miles's demo on the particle trees, which I thought was super helpful and actually something to experiment with for sure. So that is up. Yay. So we've got that going. So check that out if you're interested in doing particles, because I thought that was actually really pretty swinging. So we've got that happening, and then I'll create under Project One the Modular City Kit. This has I'm just kind of migrating stuff around. It was kind of betwixt and between, so I moved this stuff over here. But this is also in our main notes as well. So October 29th on Moodle, and kind of getting your projects ready to turn in. Now, I think I said to do a presentation down here, so that it'd be good to present this work in Figma as well as just turning in the files, because oftentimes with 3D, you're not showing your actual 3D work, but you're showing a rendering of the 3D work or a screen cap of the 3D work. And so we can talk about using a program like Figma, since we're all using it, is actually a really nice presentation software. It's easy to share and it's all online. You know, you could use Google Slides, that's fine too. And so that would be kind of start to organize this into some kind of a presentation. And we'd started that here. Where was it? I'm confused. Oh, it was actually in our course notes. It was here. So yeah, I'd started to kind of rough out a bit of an example of maybe what I might put together for a presentation. Well, I'd probably do this on separate pages maybe, and start to maybe have some comments and, you know, underneath, like, and again, this is still rough draft, so I haven't put it on separate pages yet, but it's one of the things I like about this program is you can just splay stuff out onto a big endless document and then cut it and paste it and move it around into different pages and stuff later. So I kind of like that way of working. I kind of hate just working on one stupid slide, and then, you know, I like the fact that this just sprawls out. And so I'm just kind of starting to think about how to present this work that I've been doing, you know. And so this is basically that component, like, I've got all the components out here, I've got my title, and so, and then I'm just have a little description down here about my process. So, and what I was thinking about when I was doing it. And that, and here you're not trying to like lie. You just want to be truthful about what the process was like. And then, but kind of take yourself seriously. Like, what was I actually thinking about? Because oftentimes when we do something, we don't know what we did. Do you guys have that experience? Especially when you're making art or something like that. And that the reflection back, you can get a lot of insight into what you're actually doing. And sometimes by going back and demonstrating something for an audience, because when you're showing stuff off, you are presenting stuff to an audience. And so sometimes when you go back and take that on as a challenge, you can articulate something that you didn't actually know all that well yourself. that maybe you were able to do at one time, but what did I actually do? That's kind of the stuff that we want you to be thinking about. And, you know, what is it that, like, what was I showing here? So I had a note here. It's like, oh, well, this is actually, I'm showing some wireframe aspects of this, but do I want to keep going with that? Do I want to, do I want to talk about how I was using different types of instancing or arrays to create these steps and the columns? What was I doing with this shot here? Like, you know, here, maybe I could talk about, well, here I wanted to experiment with showing more scale by, you know, zooming back out and seeing this from a different view, but then adding some of these elements that I already developed for in here, but to instance them out here so that they convey a really different scale out here than what they do here. You know, and then also maybe it's like, if you're looking at different, what were you looking at? Like I was looking at these Blizzard white box, this Blizzard white box example, just to really focus on how stripped down white boxing can really be, and how it, in like, how really de-emphasizing as much as you possibly can all of the cool detail and all the stuff that gets us fired up about modeling. I wanted to kind of really focus on the really bare bones nature of white boxing, to really focus on space, something like that. And maybe you guys were thinking very similar things. I don't know. But that's kind of where we're going with this as far as like a presentation aspect of it. And I think maybe even on the notes here, I'll add a page for this Thursday. And let's see. I don't know if I can throw let's put something up here. I think I don't think these links are hot, unfortunately, but all right, it's all right. So, you know. So I'll say, it's obnoxious. Also obnoxious. All right, whatever. So this as an example, so to turn, like for the presentation part, we'll just have your link here so we can go link to your page.
Miles?
Yeah.
Are you supposed to be screen sharing?
Oh, yeah, I am. So I just added a page here to our Figma doc that we're working in right now to sign in for. This is for the Thursday turn in. So just do something like this, you know, just you know, you can just even copy this out and then paste your link in there. That way we'll collect all of your presentation URLs here. And so if you're doing, you know, I don't really care if you're using Google Slides, it's fine, or something else, as long as it's online and we can link to it, just put the URL up here with your name. And then I'll go ahead right now and I will set up on Moodle. I'll set that up. the turn in there. And I think I'll just make a link to the old Google Drive.
Hey Miles, I just logged in. I don't know if I missed something, but
Oh, yeah.
are you requiring for the or the turn in, like 5 or 6 slides or something? Or
Yeah, so just kind of, I'll leave it up to you. I think that's kind of the nature of the fun, is figuring out how you want to do it. Like, and I'm going to get meta here for a second. So sorry if this is like annoying. Sometimes I make someone asks a question and I respond with even more annoyingly vague answers. But I think what I've seen in presentations is that the more you follow kind of the boring idea of what you think a presentation is supposed to be, the worse the presentation gets. So think about it as like, and this came up, it's funny, even in our department, like, so I think there's something about like when you have to do something, like as part of like, oh, this is a class, I have to do this homework for this class, then we're like, oh God, I got to do this. And we're kind of annoyed by it. And so it's like, okay, just tell me what I got to do and I'll do it. And so for our department, we have to do this thing called a program assessment or just something like that. That has to go up to the dean and the president. So, or the provost and the president. And so our director was saying like, look, for God's sakes, like you guys are artists, like don't just make a shitty, like, PowerPoint, or like, don't just like type out some document, like make it cool, like make it like something that someone actually wants to look at. And I think that's kind of the challenge for us, since we're all artists and you guys have been making all this really cool stuff, like show it off, like gussy it up, make it look cool. And so think about getting us excited, almost think about like a pitch, like you're kind of pitching your idea for like a cool new game or a movie or something. And that's why I wanted you to come up with like a title or, and you don't have to be literal about it. Like it doesn't have to be for, oh, this is a game or a movie, but think about kind of like, how do you generate something that's kind of cool for the audience? And just, I like to think about how many bad presentations I've had to sit through, where you're just like, oh God, like when is this going to be over? And then try to do the opposite of that.
okay. That makes sense.
So, yeah.
So you want to see all of the individual assets that we've made and then how we put them together?
Yeah. So the minimal,
but then non-modular, but then we decide how we make the presentation.
Yeah. Like, I think it's like the minimum requirements that we would need. We want to see like, basically like show us the assets, like you just said, that are the modular assets as like a kit view somehow. And this is just one example. I don't think this is a great example that I had here on this of where I had my title, but that's something, and then have what, like I think what you were saying is like, yeah, what you did with those pieces, like how did you start to put them together in different ways and create different views and all that kind of stuff. And I think the other thing I might think about is like, if you may or may not be heavy into texturing, for example, like I don't think you have to have all of the texture questions worked out by this point. You might, some people might, some people don't. I don't. And this little demo that I'm doing here, I'm thinking of this more as just pure white box at this point. And then I think, well, if I didn't have a chance to do every single last piece to get it perfectly textured and integrated into this wonderful seamless world, which many of us will not have, then maybe I do one piece or something to show an example of the process. That's just, I'm just thinking off the top of my head of how I might want to make this into an interesting presentation. Does that kind of answer that, Gary?
Yep, that totally does.
Cool. Yeah, I think with presentations, I think about like you're telling us a story. And so you want the story to be concise and cool and interesting, that's all. Easier said than done. But I think getting like, what helps me, again, this is me personally, I don't know if it helps you guys this way, but like I get kind of uptight and just about getting enough stuff generated. So I like to have things like, oh, here's a shot. I kind of hate it, but I'm going to throw it into the maybe pile. And then as I start to put the presentation together, that shot that I hated, I don't hate as much because it's got a particular purpose. Or I hate it still, but I'm like, oh, I know it would actually make that shot better because I'm seeing it in the context of a presentation. And I think when we're working with 3D, we don't really come to a stopping point with our models. We just get kind of like obsessed with the model and we're like, oh, I don't like it because this vertex is out of place or something. But then, when you back up, you're like, oh, it looks fine. And this is that opportunity for us to just kind of appreciate what we've done. Or like you've been so obsessed with making the things, and maybe like for me, I found out that I was thinking about layout and arrays and stuff as opposed to just what's the final picture look like, so it's a chance to kind of reassess that kind of stuff. Yeah, other questions. I felt today I would just kind of leave it open for people to ask questions or working questions, or we can do some screen sharing, just talking about the final presentation, get some feedback, like, is this okay? Or does this look good? That kind of stuff. Because a lot of times we ask those questions, they occur too late, it won't be too late, even if you notice it on Thursday, it's fine. But hey, we've got a couple days, so let's ask the questions now.
So are we going to be presenting these on Thursday?
Yeah. So you guys will just kind of take us through your presentation. So we won't necessarily be doing it in Blender. That's the other thing, is that I think the one of the reasons we're doing it this way is that I think it's really good to get used to showing your work as renders as part of a presentation. So for example, that one Ian Hubert, or was that his name, that I showed you guys on Discord. I don't know if you guys had a chance to watch that yet. He's giving a presentation, right? But I don't think he's really doing it in Blender. He's showing stuff that he's done in Blender. He's showing stuff in 3D, but the point is he's showing the images so that you control that. So you're not having to go around and, do Blender stuff in the middle of a presentation. It's kind of awkward. It's better to have that stuff preset. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. All right, yeah. Because have you guys noticed that it's kind of hard sometimes to talk about the model, as opposed to if you just have a picture, then you can say, oh yeah, this is the thing. Like,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. It's interesting. And so it's that, to me, is like, that's an awkward, it's not a natural thing to do. Because when I'm making something, the whole point is that it's still in process. And I'm like, it's not done yet. I'm kind of just in this little like Rumpelstiltskin mode, or I'm just making something like the little gnome deep in the mountain. So you have to kind of go, oh, all right, just freeze it. That's good. And I'm going to talk about that, So just some things to think about are like, let's say I'm showing this circle that I made here. And I'm like, oh, this circle is pretty cool, man.
Share your screen, Miles.
Oh yeah, let me show you guys. You're gonna love this. Like, hey, I got this cool circle that I made. Like, what do you guys think? And so this might sound really dumb, and if it is, that's good. But one of the things I would think about is honestly, it's like the how I frame this up. If I wanted to capture this as an example, do I just like, how do I get this camera mode, this camera shot set up? And so generally, if you're trying to show something off, like, hey, check out my great circle, like that's not a good capture of it. Like, this would be better, So if that sounds kind of dumb and obvious, good, that's great. So like think about stuff like, do you want to have what kind of extra blank space do you want out here? What makes this look good, and that's different from that, So Yeah. Groovy. I was doing this. I was actually thinking about like different ways. I'll show you something that might not be obvious, but that was actually pretty cool. So if I'm doing something like a demo of my working process, I might do something like this. I use this for myself, like when I'm taking notes. It's like I'm making a presentation to myself. So let's see. I'll use the annotate tool, or you could use grease pencil if you're a little snazzier, but I'll just use the annotate tool, which is over here. And I'm going to say, I'm just going to write a note. I'm going to say, and so I'm kind of demonstrating this as a way of how you might document some of the things that you do in your work. So here, there we go. Oops. Okay. The old absolute grid snap. Yeah. Annotate. Oh, I don't think the circle is usually filled in by default, but whatever. Okay. So then I'm gonna copy this. Annotate. That's messed up. Okay. It's not gonna work. And I realized I need to change the order of some of this. So I'm like, oh, okay. Let me- So I don't need this anymore. can erase this. I wonder if I can fix my annotation here. Annotations. Huh. Oh well. I should have used grease pencil. Oh well. I was lazy. Let's move this down here. So we'll take this. Snap that. And then we'll finally do our oopsie daisy. All right, cool. So this is just kind of a quick example of like how I might do something like this for a screen cap. You know, so it's kind of using this as almost like an illustration for a story or for an idea. So and then to clean this up, I might just screen cap this. So I'll just go into, and maybe it looks better without all of this. Well, I want the annotations. So I want annotations. So I want to turn off, maybe I can turn off the floor or the grid. So maybe that's cleaner. I don't need the cameras and the lights in this. So I can turn off the camera. I can turn off the lights. Whoops, keep that. So this might be my slide at this point, and then I can kind of maximize that, and I can go in and just do like a screen cap. On the Mac, I think it's Command Shift 4 gives you this kind of quick screen grab thing.
It is.
Yeah, and I forget what it is on Windows. It's like you do something with that stupid Windows button and something. But anyway, or you can use grab, and then I've got this down here.
There's also the snipping tool.
Yeah, the snipping tool is cool. Yeah, and there's some shortcuts for that. But yeah, in Windows, and then I can open this up here. In Windows, I end up like copying and pasting it in. But I've got this, and so I can do my cleanup here. So now I can just say like, oh, let me get that color and add that bottom. Fill that with that color. And then I can just go over here and whoops, Daisy. It's not supposed to happen. I don't know why that's doing that. That's never seen that happen before in my life. There's a layer here. Why is it showing it as transparent? That's really weird. That's super strange. I've never seen that before. Anyway, no worries. And my special counting method goes 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. So skills. What is going on? Oh, that's what's going on. Anyway, so there we go. And I could even go in and fix this up. So you end up doing a lot of stuff kind of in Photoshop in life. It doesn't have to be Photoshop, whatever program you like. But, you know, oops. Such a perfectionist. All right, I'm stopping. So that's an example of something I might do, you know, for a presentation. The other thing I wanted to point out, actually, if someone wants to share, let's see, let me jump back here to Zoom. Let me see, back on Discord. So Mashaya, can I use this image that you posted on Discord the other day, just to do a quick demo? Mashaya?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Sorry, I
Wow,
didn't
that's
unmute
all.
myself.
No worries. Copy. I'll just copy this here. Photoshop. So this is actually looking really good as far as like a pretty finished render. But
You're not sharing your screen.
oh, let me show the screen here. But let's say it didn't, or it was like something. Even if it does look pretty good. What's really, really common in the 3D world is to not expect to have a perfect render coming out of Blender or whatever software you're doing. And so if you're doing animation, you'd be doing a lot of color correction.
Oh, I'm doing that right now.
Yeah, cool. In After Effects or something.
Yeah.
Here, just to give a quick,
I'm actually doing that right now.
okay. Do you want to show what you're
Oh
doing?
yeah, I can.
Yeah. Well, actually, as you get the, let me just do a quick, I just want to show really quickly the
Oh, yeah.
really basic technique for doing this in Photoshop or in After Effects or in, probably you can do this in like something like GIMP or something. But I can add an adjustment layer down here for something like curves. And I can say like, oh, I want it dark. So I can just go down and generically kind of darken everything. And then it has this little layer mask here. So that what I would do then is I can go in with the brush tool and paint with black. And wherever I paint with black in the layer mask over here, it's going to lighten up. So it's gonna mask out the effects of that layer. So if I wanted it to be kind of brighter over here or something. And I could also, you know, add different layer masks for like saturation. So I could really desaturate this color. And then kind of the same thing. If I want to have the saturation be more saturated in some places, I can go through and, you know, kind of bring some of this back. I mean, this is really crude right now, but like you can do a lot of subtle stuff this way, like darks and lights. Like if I want to have this area over here be darker, instead of going back in and doing it in Blender, which could take a long time, I might say, let me add another layer. That's going to be another curves layer. And I really want to bring this way down. So I'll bring the top end down like that and pull this down. And then instead of having it affect the whole thing, I could say layer. No, that's all right. I'll just, there are a bunch of shortcut ways of doing it. I'll just do it the slow, stupid way. So select all, fill with black. So now the layer is completely masked out, and then I paint with white to bring back the dark over here. You know, if I want to bring this whole thing down. And then I can just, you know, kind of, and I can, you know, do low opacity stuff and really get in here and start to really kind of sculpt this out with the light and the dark. And this would take me like days to do this in Blender, you know, like going in and somehow subtly modulating all of these lights and things like that. You can really get in and do lots of really fine tuning. And you can even do stuff like, I'll just do one last little adjustment layer here, like color correction. Even if I wanted to do something like, just really shift to give myself a little variation. Something like this. And again, kind of paint that out.
Miles, you're like
Yeah.
a wizard right now.
What was that?
I said you're like a wizard right now.
Wizard people. So the point is like, it is wizardry, right? If we were doing this in Blender, it's like 6 days later, I would have some really lame version of this that wouldn't look like this at all. But you always think about like your final image is the final image. It's not like, oh, I did this thing in Blender, right? Like no one cares what you did it in. It's like really about the image itself. So when you're doing a presentation, think about that you're really, and you can talk about that, even the creating the final render. You could say like, well, you know, here's my starting render. You know, here's what I started with, you know, and then I brought it in and then I kind of wanted to make it blah, 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 you know, whatever your goals were, and, you know, ended up with something like this. And so you can put all these into a group, and that way you can just turn it on and off. And that's what, you know, that's where I think, like, I wish someone had just told me that, like, about 4 weeks into learning 3D is like, yeah, don't expect the 3D render that you do to be perfect, because it never is. And every single person who's in film, not just in 3D, this is like filmmaking 101, is like, oh yeah, for the love of God, never show anyone something that you haven't color corrected to within an inch of its life. So, you know, if you talk to people that do high-end filmmaking, they always say like, oh, ugh, yeah, ugh. And they'll show you the rough stuff because it's part of the process. Like, yeah, here's what it looks like. And then this is what it looks like after we kind of do this, what we just to it. It looks a lot better, you know, so cool. Hey, do you want to show us what you're working on, Mashaya?
Yeah,
Yeah, show us.
I'm trying to make clouds.
Yeah, and so adding
super
stuff
effective.
in, that's great. Like you might just add stuff in entirely into your render afterwards. So like
Yeah.
she got some cool rendered clouds in there, but like, hey, let's get some more funky clouds in here. Like let's add some stuff into it. So, you know, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, basically, is what we're saying.
Okay, brush packs. That's wrong.
And again, for some of the renders that people are doing, like for screen cap stuff, I wouldn't necessarily do all this for a lot of the screen caps that I was showing, but I'd probably do a little bit of just overall color correction, you know, just so I could get the image to look better. You wouldn't necessarily have to do all this subtle stuff. Like we were saying,
Does
this
that look
image
like a cloud? I have no idea.
yeah, it's looking good. This image is really coming along. This is a pretty finished image, and I'm not expecting everyone's images.
Yeah, I did some basic color correction with the camera raw filter. It's a different file, so I have the one before, not edited at all.
Yeah, that's looking good though.
But yeah, it's these brushes come out.
But we want to get away from the idea of getting too micro about things. That's the tendency in 3D, is to get super micro, but pull yourself back and think about, like, I want this area to be dark. I want this area to be light. You know, and that's where things get interesting.
I was gonna do the clone stamp tool, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I love that just a big adjustment layer with like dark, where you just make everything dark and then you pull it out from there. And one big adjustment layer that's just light, and then you pull it out from there. And that way you're kind of able to be more like a painter as you're treating this stuff. So cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, I just made that black and white. That's great. It's been a long time since I've used Blender.
Yeah.
Not Blender, Photoshop.
Whatever this thing's called.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. That's great. I mean, you can kind of see like going back in, and you can let yourself just really have some fun with the painting process if you want. So
Right.
cool.
Oh, yeah. That's I don't remember how to do a dropper off. Oh, that's a different color. That's fun.
Yeah, but you can use it really as an underpainting if you wanted to. And just let yourself paint over it. You could also do stuff like if you wanted to drop like a background into something. That you could, this is what we call compositing. So where you can combine things, you know, as you render, you might do a render to a transparent background. I'm trying to, I get this confused sometimes. Did we show how to render to a transparent background?
No, I don't remember it, but
Did we not?
Negative.
Okay,
let's
negative.
mess around with.
Here's a quick, how do we do that? I'll show you.
Show me transparency.
Yes, show me transparency. So if we, let's see. Hello. If we have something that we want to render with a transparent background, this is the way we do it. And I think I do have the demo of this, but we have to do a couple things first. So we go up here to the render properties, and we go down to film, and we set it to transparent. So I'll just jot that down here. So then when we go to the render settings or output properties, which are this. We go output, file format, PNG, and then RGBA. And the A is for alpha, which means transparency. So now I believe, whoops. Oh, well, so much for my little arrows. But so now if we want to render this out, render image, it renders against a transparent background. So I can go up here to render, well, image, save as, transparency. And then if I go back to Photoshop, got that. So I should be able to just go select all of this, copy it, and what we'll do, no, paste it in here. And so here's my 3D render, composited. Here. You know, of course, then we can start to do all kinds of stuff to this layer by itself if we want to. Say saturation. So we can do all the color stuff here, you know, as in Photoshop. We're not having to do all this stuff in Blender. So. And if you really want to get weird, you can actually do your compositing in Blender, but that's just too meta. I don't want to blow your minds too much. But you can do compositing in Blender using the compositing tab up here, or the video editing tab here. So these layers here let you lay footage, and it can be animated footage, but since we're working with stills, you would just bring stills in here and you could do compositing this way. So I could go back here to Photoshop and I'll turn this off. And I'll save this out as a PNG. And then I could go back into Blender and add an image. Ta-da. And then I could add another image. And we've composited that image in Blender. And I don't know if we can do color correction here, if we have to do, but we can do cool layer effects here with this. So the cube, we can change the way the cube interacts with what's beneath it. You can do all this in Photoshop too. But it's cool that we can do it right in Blender here, you know. And then that's, I'm trying to remember how we, move it. So if I want to move it here, I'm spacing out. Let's see, modifiers, add strip modifier, view content. So we can add, like if we wanted to change the color balance, let me go back to the strip and adjust compositing. Let's turn it back to alpha over. And we can add a modifier here for, let's say, curves, and, you know, lighter or darker. And again, this is just like any other modifier. We can turn the modifier on and off. We can delete the modifier. We can apply the modifier. I don't think we can apply the modifier, actually. Turn it off or delete it. And let me see how to move this strip. I should be able to move it here. Just mirror offset. No? I'm spacing out how to move it, but tool select. Can I just GX? No. I move it up here. So. Well, I'm spacing. It might be an add-on. Not an add-on, I mean, I thought it was a modifier. Curves, mask, white balance, no, it's all color. Tool. Yeah, it should be the transform. Mirror. Offset. Oh, offset. There it is. I had checked the box. All right, cool. Yeah, so Blender, ladies and gentlemen. Other questions or processes that people are doing, or anything that would help you talk about Figma.
I actually missed the first 10 minutes of class, but I did notice the turn-in links on Figma.
Yeah.
What kind of format link do you want us to turn it in as, like a Google Drive or?
Well, let me get actually I'll have a place where you'll turn in your actual files and everything. And so that I'll have that set up as just a Google Drive. You can just zip everything up and turn it in there. But the presentation that we'll actually use for the critique will just be a link to your Figma doc. I don't know if that makes sense. Let me put that up here. I think I got distracted.
So I got the clouds in place.
Awesome. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. And I did another adjustment layer, so it's a little bit more extreme.
Yeah, go ahead and share away. Ooh, yeah, looking great.
Pretty.
Show us a before and after. Oh, that's cool. And this is a good example of, like, if you were using this in an animation and you wanted to animate something like a day to night, you might just do it like this. And you could do it in Blender or After Effects or Premiere or whatever. You animate kind of a hue saturation or a curves change, and that's a way of getting that kind of an effect. And you can group all that stuff and just turn it all on and off at once, so you can show us the before after if you just select all those layers with the adjustments and group them. Command G.
Yeah, I think I'm glad I did the clouds at least.
Yeah, that's cool. That looks great. And so you can kind of see, it's like, oh yeah, I see what's going on there. Nice. Yeah, looks awesome.
I guess I want some feedback on contrast.
Go for it, guys. Jump in.
Whether should I just make this a night scene? I don't know.
What do you guys think?
I like it not totally dark like a night scene. I think it would need like some more lights to make it pop as a night scene. But I like it when it is relatively high contrast, but like not so dark that it looks like it's night, if that makes sense.
Just tell me when to stop.
Okay. Stop. Maybe
Right
like
there?
a little bit before that. Yeah. I think that's cool.
Cool. Yeah.
It looks like cloudy.
Pre-dusk light.
Yeah.
Should I mess around with the sky color?
I think that would help to make some of the city colors pop, but
Yeah.
it's a good color.
Yeah, it's a good color, but does it fit?
I mean, you can just try a bunch of different things, like an oranger or, I don't know, more dusky color.
Oh. All I know that I'm happy about is the clouds. Very happy with that.
This would actually be an advanced, that's a great advanced question, actually, about the sky, right? Was that one of the questions, Mishaya?
Oh, yeah, whether it, because it's a nice color, but does it actually fit?
Right. So what you'd want to do is actually render the sky out separately as a separate pass, which you can do in using, I forget what they call it in Blender, but it's basically
And I could
render
basically,
layer.
let's try that.
Give it the treatment. Yeah. I mean, you could hack it
Magic
in Photoshop
wand.
just doing something like that, but that's going to be pretty imprecise. So the best thing is to render out your city on a transparent background. So that
can someone throw out a color? Because I can just plop in a color.
Purple.
Purple. Cool. What kind of purple? Like a blue or like a reddish purple?
I didn't think this far.
Oh, there you go, Phil. But I should pick a color first.
Go with a warmer purple to contrast the softer blue.
Oh, that's good. That's a good idea. Warmer purple. That's over here. Can everyone see the? I don't know. This is not my strong suit.
What you would do is you could do it with an adjustment layer.
Oh, that's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah, so make a new adjustment layer for hue saturation. And then you can have it affect and then mask out the effect of it. So yeah.
All right. Yeah. Just having another layer. Because it should affect it. I don't know. Again, color picking is not my strong suit. I don't know. I usually
I'll
choose
show
wrong
you.
colors, but
Yeah, let me just put this up here. 1 second.
like more of that. Oh, there's some things, but like, is that color scheme
I would go a bit lighter on the
a little
purple.
bit lighter?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Take it out of the gray bit too.
Yeah. This is, of course, I'd actually take the time to like
Yeah.
blend it and stuff, but I'm not sure about like the shadows. I feel like I'd have to actually change the sky within my render.
Yeah, I'll show you. Yeah. Just get this up and rock and roll with that. So, all right, I have the turn in link up on Moodle now. All right, so yeah, let me, here, I'll switch over. So the kind of the classic way is if this were rendered with nothing in the background, it'd be a little easier. So what did you just use? Did you use the magic wand?
Yeah, just quick select with magic wand.
This would be kind of like rough version.
Yeah, rough and dirty.
So we got this, and so what we can do is we've got a selection, we've got and we'll add an adjustment layer. So we'll call this hue saturation. And then the mask shows up here, so it'll only affect what is showing through the mask. So that way you can just slide this and you don't have to pre-think.
I actually have an idea. It's probably a bad idea, but it is an idea. So we'll hide that one. Okay. Hopefully this doesn't mess everything up. But you know, camera raw filter, you can technically, I think, do what I think you're doing. You just basically switch the blues to like a purple. Maybe that would work. Probably not. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Is my mic on? Probably is.
Yeah. We're hearing you.
Oh, sure. Okay. Everyone's on my desktop now. It's not like I have anything on here. Okay. I don't know. I gotta be the.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
So
Yeah,
that way the shadows
all
actually.
this stuff is always just do
Eh.
do a bunch of versions, and spit them out. So you're not forcing yourself to come up with the perfect thing, and you can just kind of do a little bit of a side by side. This might be a fun thing to do in the presentation. Is to say, oh, I tried some different color screen variations. Like this is perfect to show that. This is the kind of thing you might do in a professional development environment. Is like, well, here's some of the color schemes we're looking at, and the director can come in and say, oh yeah, give me more of this or that or less of that. But go ahead and document some of these to show the process. That'd be great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, super cool.
Haha.
Yeah.
Extremes. Yes. Just gonna. Perfect.
Yeah, cool.
That's all I want. I don't know.
Cool. I was thinking, yeah, with compositing, it's like once you have the idea of it down, it's just basically transparent things on top of other transparent things. That's what compositing is. You can do whatever you want with it. It's super powerful. Yeah, I was thinking about oops. If we want to make a mask here. You can do, now we've got this photo back here. Whoops, move it without the mask. There we go. So, you can put whatever you want back behind here. Whoops, just moved it into my other drawing. So yeah, all this stuff is fair game for your images. And again, it probably won't necessarily be this far along or something like that, but just stuff to start thinking about, that you're not doomed to. That's kind of cool. Wow, I really like that. I'm going to keep this. Yeah, that's great. But anyway, you're not doomed to whatever happens to come out of Blender, which may or may not be at all what you're kind of looking for. Yeah. So if you're not cheating, you're not trying as far as your imagery. Other questions people have about anything. We can talk Blender stuff, presentation stuff, whatever. Any deep, dark, pressing questions? Soul crushing things? I don't know. Exuberances.
I mean, I've got some like advising questions I've got for after class.
Oh, advising
Has
questions.
everyone voted?
Yeah, we can talk advice. What was that?
Has everyone voted?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, vote.
Working on.
I did it. Yeah.
Wait, what?
Get into it.
Vote?
Vote?
What?
Yeah, I believe the last day to vote. Does anyone know the last day to vote? I already voted, so I don't
Election
really
day.
know.
Oh,
Yeah, I
believe
think
it's
it's already too
November
late.
3rd.
I think it's already too
Yeah.
late to mail it in, but you can still put it in a Dropbox site.
Actually, you can mail it in because Oregon has a specific law that you just have to have this postage stamp say that it's the last day.
Mm.
I would still drop in a Dropbox to
I like the
make
drop.
sure it's counted, but
Yeah.
there is a law in Oregon that basically says as long as the postage stamp, the day that the mail picks up your ballot, is the day that it's considered submitted. And so if you mail it right on the last day, even though it's not going to get to the place on the last day, it's going to be still counted.
Cool.
Still better to drop it off. But if you
Oh
need
yeah.
it, good to know.
It's more like if your only option is to vote it, it still counts. So vote it in. Like vote it,
Gotcha.
mail it. There you go.
We know you meant.
I don't know anymore. I'm tired.
Cool. All right. Well, we can leave it there and let you guys kind of do your thing for Thursday then, and we'll you can drop your stuff off in the Google Drive via Moodle. The Blender files, just zip it all up, put your name on the file name so we know whose it is, and then put your presentation links into the Figma doc, and we'll use those, and you guys will present away on Thursday. And I look forward to seeing what people have come up with. All right. Cool. Okay, cool. Well, I'll hang out. Some of you guys can take off as needed, and I will see everyone on Thursday. All right, cool. Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.